First class will be how to become any person you want. So how to use psychology and physiology to become any person you want and to live the life that you dream of. Before we start, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not your therapist. In fact, I don't have a single certification in any of those areas. That said, I have listened and studied from a crap ton, excuse my language, kind of psychiatrists, doctors, and therapists, synthesizing my own conclusions to all of their research over the course of these last few years. I'm not going to include exact citations because it comes from a lot of different places. Please fact check me, fact check everything yourself, run it through an AI or like ChatGPT, or just go on PubMed or NCBI and check these facts. I can guarantee that all of these are grounded in research. Another important thing to note that has greatly influenced this class is that I believe cause and effect is a fundamental law of our universe. I don't think anything is necessarily predetermined. I don't think there's any sort of random attributes or traits that things are assigned at birth. I think everything is caused by something else, right? There is no randomness. There is no coincidence. It might seem like random or coincidental, but most of it is in fact caused by something else. And lastly, please just surrender to this class as a student. Drop any sort of subconscious thoughts you have about me, about this video to the side. Embrace humility. Please leave your ego here right now because this may challenge a lot of your beliefs and values, and you're not going to get any value out of this if you come into this being critical. And I'm going to be direct. A lot of this, again, will challenge some of the stuff that you believe in, and that is my point. I think everyone should be challenging and trying to deconstruct their own beliefs. I think it makes us better people. I think it makes us more open to conversation and generally more receptive to helping others. So to start, to know how to change yourself, how to change your identity, who you are, you must understand the brain. I think it's very helpful to start with a little bit of anatomy. So just from some fun facts to understand how powerful this freaking thing is, it is crazy. Your brain is like a supercomputer. It does upwards of 1 quadrillion operations per second, just for you to do your day-to-day things. This is obviously an oversimplification, overestimation, anywhere from like 1 billion to 1 quadrillion operations per second. Every time you think a thought, a neuron physically changes shape. Think about that. Every single time you either reinforce a thought or change a thought, your neurons are adapting. Your brain's wiring actually reorganizes itself every night while you're asleep. This is why I encourage sleep so much, is because you literally cannot learn new skills without sleep. Your brain cannot consolidate memories. It cannot consolidate new information. Memory also is not stored in one place. It's actually reconstructed every time you recall it. So this means remembering something literally changes the memory itself. So that's why a lot of people, we can't really remember memories or situations with exact precision. Often we'll think of our memories in like third person. We'll view ourselves in a third person rather than like first person from our eyes, which is really interesting. So your brain is also 2% of your body weight, but consumes 20% of your calories. It's like 1/5. That's crazy. And then the average person has 86 billion neurons and 100 trillion synapses. This is more connections than stars in the Milky Way galaxy. If you know how big the Milky Way galaxy is, that is absolutely freaking insane. So the fact that we have this incredible piece of machinery in our skull, each and every one of us, is dumbfounding. It is an incredible piece of machinery that I think we should respect with utmost sincerity. So one of the most important concepts that I think some of you have heard of before is neuroplasticity. This was a game-changing discovery in the 1960s by Donald Hebb. There were theories about it before we were able to actually test in humans and live animals in real experimental trials to prove that the brain does reorganize itself. It can adapt to its environment. So the brain literally rewires based on what you repeat. Neurons that fire together wire together. So neural connections that are not used, they actually get removed. So that's any sort of habit that you're learning, if you stop doing it, it'll become harder and harder to do so over time. And so what this means is that your identity is not fixed. This is crazy stuff, because that means habits carve neural pathways that can become permanent. This means that you have complete free will. Right, you are most likely not predetermined by your background, your environment, your culture, citizenship, all of that stuff. And what this means really, again, drop the ego, take responsibility, right? Circumstances matter, but it does not make it permanent. Parents, genetics, citizenship, they all have major influences. No one is denying that. I'm not denying that, but it is imperative you admit you are not static. You can change who you are completely, no matter where you come from or where your background is. Avoid saying things like, it's the way I am, I'm quote unquote, I'm anxious, quote unquote, I can't calorie track, quote unquote, I can't be a millionaire, even quote unquote, I don't like rock music. Even just music, right? That was conditioned in you by how often you listened to rock music in your childhood and whether it was paired with displeasurable or pleasurable moments, which is crazy to think about. So a little bit of anatomy with the brain. There are two important parts that really dictate this. So the limbic system, prefrontal cortex. So limbic system, this is kind of your automatic, your survival instinct part of the brain. So generates emotional reactions like fear, anger, desire, stress. It detects threat, activates fight or flight, handles impulses, cravings, or conditioned habits. It's fast, it's automatic, it's reactive. So whenever you're about to have an emotional outburst, or whenever you're sitting on a couch really craving a piece of candy or chocolate, that is your limbic system working. As far as the prefrontal cortex goes, this is the logical thinking, decision-making, planning part of the brain. It controls those impulses, emotional regulation, focus, attention, awareness. It also initiates intentional behavior. So on the brain right here, limbic system is kind of this middle part of the brain. And also the prefrontal cortex is this frontal lobe right here. So I'll discuss what meditation here is in a second. But what meditation does is it strengthens the prefrontal cortex to minimize limbic system influence. So eventually this can make desired behavior preferred. Meaning whatever habit or skill you're trying to develop now that feels like you have a lot of friction or emotional turmoil against, once you repeat that habit enough, it actually becomes your preference, even emotionally. So a meditation, it's not just sitting down or lying down and closing your eyes, listening to your breath. That's a good form of meditation. That's like a focused meditation that can help calm and relax the nervous system. It's great. But what meditation really is it's actually one of the 6 perfections of Buddhism. Whether you believe in Buddhism, religion or not, I don't care. But meditation is a great skill that all of us should be cultivating. It really can change you as a human being in a very tremendous way. So meditation trains the brain by deconstructing thoughts and building moment-to-moment self-awareness. So you're learning not just to reflect on the week, but on the current second itself, catching impulses before you act. So the check-ins that you guys submit on a weekly or bi-weekly basis is a form of meditation. This is why I encourage it so much. This is why I think it's so important that we do this, because if you don't meditate, you don't reflect on any of this stuff, you're not going to grasp it. You're not going to do it. The thing that people get wrong in meditation is like, it is, or maybe not even think about it, it's a trainable skill. It's meditation and awareness are in fact a trainable skill. So you can start with weekly meditations with the check-ins, but then you can extrapolate that down to the very second of every breath of your life. And that sounds exhausting, and it can be exhausting. However, it does get better with practice. It starts to become more automatic. So once you get to the point where you're meditating every second of the day, you're always catching your impulses, you're always self-aware. And I promise you, you're not as self-aware as you think you are. I'm not at all either. You will feel more at home in the world. Every action you do will feel more aligned with who you are. You will begin to wake up in the morning excited because there will be no single action you're taking that isn't a lie to yourself. Every action you're taking was planned, it was purposeful, it was aligned with who you are, and it's what you want to do at the end of the day. And so this really applies with like weight loss, right? Like if you're struggling with weight loss or calorie tracking, I would argue, again, you are very poor in self-awareness or meditation. If the goal of weight loss is generally something you actually care about, right? Setting aside environmental factors, genetic background and whatnot, those matter, and you need to keep those in the back of your mind. But arguably, you have poor meditation skills. You have poor self-awareness skills. You might be very reflective, and you can go really deep once a week or once every 2 weeks, but you're not doing it frequently enough. AKA, your limbic system is just like overriding you all of the time. So, cool moment. This is a cool pause. I so much so I wanted to add this slide in here because that is so freaking cool. The fact that self-awareness and meditation is a trainable skill. This means that consciousness itself, the very mysterious phenomenon that you're experiencing right now watching this video that even scientists can't really describe or comprehend, it means consciousness itself is trainable and expandable. I used to think consciousness was this black and white thing. Something has consciousness or something doesn't. But this means that it lies on a spectrum. The more conscious you are, the more opportunities you're able to have from life as a whole. So there is some bad news, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Neuroplasticity has its limits. So it decreases with age, sleep deprivation, poor nutrition, poor health, exposure to inflammation, and isolation. So a good way to think about this is thinking in extremes. Babies are the most plastic. I mean, think about it. They're stupid. They're going to die if they don't learn very quickly. They need to be adaptable. Their brains need to be hyper adaptable to the world. Either they're going to get eaten by a tiger, or most likely in our case, they're just going to accumulate a ton of credit card debt, because that's where the world we live in nowadays. The opposite of that are old, unhealthy hermits. So those are the least plastic, most fixed in their ways. So babies are a growth mindset, essentially, or people in our childhood are a growth mindset. Old and healthy hermits are a fixed mindset. It's like the get off my lawn people. That old guy that screams, get off my lawn. You've seen it in pop culture, like videos and movies. I've seen it even in person. And then you go up and try to talk to this person. You try to talk about their political views or their stances on certain things about the world. And you quickly realize they're not changing one bit. No matter what kind of great information, empirical evidence, or data you give them, man, they are stuck in their ways. Their open-mindedness is negative. And that's dangerous. That's really dangerous mindset to fall in. But don't worry, bad days don't stay forever. So the good news is that neuroplasticity can be cultivated and supported. So BDNF is kind of more so been hyped and trendy these last couple of years, but it's brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So it's the brain's primary growth and repair protein. It strengthens synapses, supports neuron survival, helps form new neural pathways, making it one of the key drivers behind enhanced neuroplasticity. And so you can cultivate increased BDNF and thus better neuroplasticity through a variety of ways, through your nutrition, by consuming mostly brain-supporting anti-inflammatory foods on almost a daily basis. These are things that I do on a daily basis. I have blueberries, I have green tea, cocoa powder, coffee, and fiber in general every single day. Blueberries, green tea, cocoa powder, they're good. You don't need them, but there's a lot of research that suggests that they have extremely anti-inflammatory benefits that help improve brain flow and function. So I think they're really good ones and staples to add into your diet almost daily. Daily physical activity, especially with the research and literature on what it says, especially high intensity cardio, because that really ramps up blood circulation in the brain and BDNF in the brain. Sunlight as well, sunlight exposure, especially first thing in the morning, releases things like dopamine and serotonin, which modulates mood, and it also improves. Dopamine is a huge, important neurotransmitter for long-term reward seeking and motivation, and just generally good behavior that we associate with success. Good sleep as well. Like if you're not getting 7 hours of sleep every single night, neuroplasticity, BDNF is going down the drain every single day, a little bit at a time until you hit that old age. Reading, writing, thinking, and socializing. That's a huge one as well. So essentially anything that you're doing to delay age and remain unfixed, right, will improve neuroplasticity and increase BDNF in the brain. A really cool supplement, lion's mane, has been a recent focus of research recently. It is not a psychedelic mushroom. It's not. It's an actual mushroom that you can take. I recommend fresh caps off of Amazon. This is a great supplement to keep neuroplasticity high, BDNF high, and I usually kind of recommend it to people getting into a coaching program or learning a new skill. You can pair lion's mane for when you're trying to learn a new habit or skill. Obviously, a supplement is a supplement. Make sure you have these big rocks down first, and then lion's mane can be a good addition. Mushrooms in general, though, I think it's fair to mention that psychedelics like psilocybin and whatnot do have a lot of promising research. We do not have long-term data on this. We do not know if it's safe long-term. We really just do not. And so this is not a recommendation by any means, but we do have promising research in rodents and in humans for like therapeutic scenarios where psychedelics really ramp up BDNF and neuroplasticity in the brain, like exponential levels. This is why you see in the therapeutic clinical trials where people with a lot of trauma, a lot of the soldiers that come back from military and war, they will use these in these trials for severe cases of PTSD. And when they actually implement psychedelics and psilocybin to them, it reverses their thinking with trauma, and they come to terms with it much better with a guided therapist. That is crazy to think about. That means that your brain using psychedelics can use the neuroplasticity that enhances it can change the way you think about yourself and the world in permanent ways. So that can be extremely beneficial. It can also be extremely damaging, right? Because if you go into that experience, having a bad experience or thinking negative thoughts, it can make you come out of the experience in a very negative lens. And there's there are some rare cases where people will feel a sense of derealization with the world, where they go into like interstate of psychosis and they believe in things that aren't grounded in reality. So it can be very dangerous. So again, not a recommendation, but it's very fair to point out that this is a great source of evidence to prove that neuroplasticity very much matters in who you are, who you become, and what you believe in. So to kind of wrap up that lesson, we're going to start to apply this. So this is something that you can literally do today, right now, and start doing every day to really start improving your life and getting in the right direction that you want to if you feel stuck. So this is a worksheet I put together. It's a psycho and environmental analysis worksheet. So list out your current day-to-day activities and environmental factors that have an influence on your neuroplasticity. So it doesn't have to be an exhaustive list. I think the more that you add to it, the better of an idea you're going to have, and the more value you're going to get from it. But it can just be like 5 to 10 core things. So think things like physical activity, sunlight, journaling. What things do you do on a daily basis? List out all of your current major assumptions about your personality. So I am a teacher. I like X hobby. I am disciplined, etc. Be honest with yourself, right? Your career is an assumption, right? And if you're saying I am disciplined, make sure that's true. Do your daily behaviors align with that? Do you actually follow a plan when you're told to? If you say I am confident, make sure that you are aligned with that. If you're still stuttering anxiously in front of people and you're not confident what to say about yourself, you're not confident. So just be honest with yourself and have someone even review yours who knows you and is willing to give you honest feedback. List out all potential childhood experiences or just past experiences in general that have shaped who you are. So your parents' behaviors, your schooling, your friend circles, etc. So just as an example, this is a practice example for me. Current activities and factors: daily sun in Florida. Sunlight is huge. I really underestimate how big of a difference that's going to make on somebody, including myself. Daily physical activity: running, lifting, walking. Daily journaling, reading, writing. Daily socializing with my coaching practice. Daily high fiber and plant intake. Current assumptions: I am a coach, I am a writer, I am disciplined, I am confident, I am ambitious and growth oriented. And I know what I'm talking about on this slide deck. That's an assumption, right? I could be wrong, etc. Potential childhood/past experiences. My abandonment issues gave me a need for social validation. Very well could be true, right? My mom made me read, write, and describe my feelings often. That very much changed who I am and how I perceive the world. My financial stress gave me a somewhat materialistic view on the world, right? There was a point in time in my life where I was so focused on being hyper successful and accumulating a mass amount of wealth. That's really what sparked the interest in Bastion. I was trying to combine with my interest with massive amounts of wealth with my interest for health. And this gave me, and it still gives me, lasting materialistic views in the world. I have these posters, I have a nice computer, I have a nice phone, I have a nice mouse. I don't need any of these nice things to do the job that I do. However, I still have them. I still have my shoes. I care about this stuff. And then also moving to Florida made it easier to develop consistent habits, consistent weather. Again, super underestimated that one, but that was huge. All right, we're at 40 minutes. Again, take a sip of water or something, take a break. We're almost there. Finish line is in sight. So most importantly, you've got to do this daily. Meditate, journal, reflect, challenge yourself daily. Start small, build confidence. Many of you are in circumstances where you're so busy that you cannot do this a ton every single day, and that's okay. You got to start somewhere. So start small and build confidence that you can do these things. Build confidence in building a sense of identity of you are who you say you are. Make it easy, right? Buy a journal, place it next to your nightstand at bed, and just say, hey, I'm going to write one sentence out reflecting on the day. Each night. That's it. One sentence. Start there and build momentum. Do not by any means commit to a full page or a full paragraph of journaling every single day. Even 10 minutes can be too much. Sometimes you're just so exhausted that you don't want to do it. And then again, you just don't do it. So surround yourself with people also who will listen to you and push you, and ask them to do so, right? I'm going to push you. You can ask me to push you more. But also just ask family members and loved ones to just genuinely push you, like challenge you, like ask them and have that deep conversation with them. They're like, hey, I'm not where I want to be. I want to be pushed. Surround yourself with materials and reading that remind you of the task and objectives that you're trying to achieve here, right? I think We get so distracted by Netflix shows, by YouTube videos, and by a lot of quote unquote brain rot on our phones. While entertaining, while there is a time and place for it, it should absolutely be limited. Follow accounts on social media that are motivating or philosophical. Start listening to podcasts that are oriented towards self-improvement, nutrition, health, like Andrew Huberman or Modern Wisdom can be very helpful. Or start reading books like Do Hard Things or the author Ryan Holiday, or philosophical or religious books that will give you a sense of greater purpose. You need to constantly be reminding yourself that, man, we are here, we are finite, we are mortal. There is only so much we can achieve in this short lifetime. I want to make the best of it. Find sources of reading and material that you can read daily and tolerate almost daily that will remind you of this. Know what you're pursuing and why you're pursuing it, right? So many people don't even know what or why. They will come to me with a what, but they don't really know why they're doing it, and thus they don't know what they want, right? It inherently means they don't know what they want. So goal setting is write down your goal and meditate on it. Deconstruct it to its simplest form. Why do you want that goal? Why that? Why that? Why that? Why that? Why that? And on and on and on and on. You need to keep doing that until you get to a point of just like your true reason for it. And sometimes you're not going to know what to write. That's fine. That's why we're doing the practice. And it's very important that you keep doing it and keep revisiting it. Sometimes it takes, you need to consume other information, other wisdom from others to get your own perspective. That's what I've done for a lot of my life. Is like the reason I see so much value in all this health and stuff is because I've taken a lot of the information and wisdom I've gathered from others and other really smart people, and I've applied my own meaning to it. And I'm going to share with you some stuff here in a moment of my own writing so that hopefully you can take it as inspiration for yourself and start digesting it in a way that makes sense for your life. And then revisit goals daily, or at the very least weekly, but I would argue daily. You need to be doing this if you really want to make a huge difference in your life quickly. And with habit formation, you need to write down the habits that you need to do to accomplish these goals in a way that makes sense. Be realistic. Again, do not start with something crazy like I'm doing a 2-hour run every single week to start training for a marathon. Something that is realistic that you know you will stick to even on your worst weeks, and then build up from there. So, and another thing to really keep in mind here is age and health will make it way easier or way harder. Keep in mind, I'd say if you're above the age of 40 listening to this, you will need to vastly work harder and more consistently at this than your younger version of yourself. Your brain is not as plastic anymore, and especially if you haven't been taking care of your health up until this point or until recently, you had a lot of years or decades of neglecting your health. You will need to do this daily for sure if you want to see noticeable improvements in it, and you will need to revisit it daily. So you will need to work more consistently at it. It will probably take a longer period of time, and that's where like supplements like lion's mane might be very beneficial for you. And I will say a very important thing to note here is for my high achievers in here, my overthinkers, my perfectionists, you can use this to deconstruct those beliefs as well, right? You want to become someone who's more relaxed, who's more peaceful. This doesn't always have to be growth oriented. It can be growth oriented in a different direction, right? So if you don't like something about yourself, you're too oriented, you're too disciplined, you're too obsessive, this would be a great opportunity to start working backwards into a more peaceful state of living. So I thought it'd be helpful to share. I really never thought I'd be sharing this writing with anybody. This is very vulnerable for me to do so, but this is in my journal. I've had this written down for about 2 years now. I kind of go back and always revise it. But this is truly my life purpose. And, literature, language, and philosophy has been a big influences on me. But I think it is a big influence on any human being. I think everyone in here probably underestimates the importance of language and poetry and literature and philosophy. All of human behavior and culture is driven by our understanding of language. And so if you take the time to really understand philosophy, find some ideas, ideologies, and people that you like listening to, you're going to have a deeper sense of beauty on life, a deeper sense of purpose with life and meaning that you have not found before. And it will absolutely change who you are as a person in a very positive way. So I encourage you, if you have not given a lot of time to reading philosophy or religion or poetry or literature, give it a shot, man. It really will change your life. So I'm going to pause this here. You can pause it here, to read through this. But this is what I call the 3 pillars of training. The body, the mind, and servitude. This is what I try to train every single day without fail, as much as I possibly can. And this is my promise to myself that I also have written down. And anything you pursue, aim for mastery. Commit to the craft with all of your being. And I try to apply that with everything that I do. The 11 traits that I want to embody. Again, you can pause and read all of this. These are all traits, virtues that I try to Practice an everyday conversation. Whenever I'm having an emotional outburst, I try to collect myself and remind myself of these 11 things. And this is my why. I didn't actually have this written out until just now. I wrote this in about 2 minutes. I have written about this an extensive amount, though. So I was able to write this in 2 minutes because it's so ingrained in who I am and what I do and why I do things. And you should have that confidence as well. When you say, when someone asks you your why, you should have a pretty loaded answer for that. You should be able to talk about it for a while. And if you don't, that's a great sign that you need to be diving more into your literature, your mind, your philosophy. You really do. So why do I care about any of this? This is a shortened version. I could write about this for hours and hours and hours. But ultimately, I believe the universe is mostly random, based on cause and effect. I don't think humans are the center of the universe. I think we learned that with Copernicus. I think that this is all one grand experiment with truly no meaning at its core. And I will say, my study on astronomy and learning the Big Bang Theory, the observable universe as a kid really influenced this perspective. I'm not saying I'm closed-minded to different types of beliefs or religions. However, this is the conclusion that I've come to personally, because I just don't know. I don't know. This is my best observation of my life, of what I know, and I just have a very analytical mind, and that can be a flaw. It can be. I just think very logistically, and I want to see a reason of why I'm believing in something. And so I studied astronomy extensively as a kid, and came to this conclusion early. However, I am here. I was born. I have been through suffering, and I have seen a lot of suffering. So I might as well do my best, help others along the way, the best I can, and leave the world a better place. I really don't want to live a life that is forgetful or meaningless. I want to be sat on my deathbed with a family and friends and loved ones around me who I've helped and they've helped me, with a smile on my face, hopefully, and not a single regret. So until I die of old age, a car, an illness, a random strike of lightning, crossing my fingers, I will do my best to make the world a better place, one conversation and one action at a time. And I'm truly here to fight for that. Death is inevitable, and I have been dead most of existence. All of us have been dead most of existence, right? The universe has been here nearly 14 billion years, and we're here for maybe 70 to 100. So I aim to give this one little short life before I go back to that deathly existence my freaking best possible shot. And this is known as a form of existentialism. So this is the idea that nothing matters, but we create our sense of meaning from that meaninglessness, which I think is beautiful. And when I was depressed just last year, and when I have fallen into depression many times, I had fallen into pure nihilism, the idea that nothing matters. And this is also a reason why I think religion is so important as well, alongside philosophy. So thank you. I know this was a long video, but this is going to be an artifact. This is going to be where it all starts, I believe. So please let me know if there's any questions. I'm more than happy to talk to any of you about this in more depth. I hope it's helpful. I hope someone out there really got a good value from this and is able to take some really awesome actionable steps towards making their life even that much better. So thank you again, and have a wonderful week.